It's only the second time since the pandemic that it's happened since on a monthly basis, if you ignore the Januaries, which I think you should. Did the Bank of England pat itself on the back? Well, they're divided, and there'll be more on that later. I simply ask, at what cost? When prices fall this sharply in a single month, it's rarely just because of some kind of sudden supply chain efficiency. It's often because the consumer has quite simply run out of steam. So, what are the real drivers? Well, reduced output and taxation threats. The downward pressure on prices was led by food, non alcoholic beverages, and the alcohol and tobacco sectors. Tobacco, for example, saw a 12-month rate drop from 5.9% inflation to 4% inflation. Crucially, the ONS notes that duty increases didn't hit until late November, after the collection period. However, the looming threat of these higher taxation burdens and the general budget atmosphere have already begun to suppress discretionary spending. This is a classic output trap. The core CPIH annual rate, that sticky inflation, is down to 3.5%, which is its lowest since late 2021. And this does suggest that underlying demand is evaporating. If the reason inflation is hitting targets is that nobody is buying anything, that isn't a soft landing, it's a stall. So is this suicide by unemployment? Well, the most haunting spectre in this report is the shift in services. While housing and household services remain the largest positive contributors to the annual rate, the all services index is finally starting to crack, easing to 4.4%. In a service-led economy like the UK's, this cooling is often a direct precursor to rising unemployment. When businesses face higher taxation burdens, both direct and through the fiscal drag of stagnant thresholds, and see demand cratering, the next lever they pull is headcount. We're potentially witnessing this policy of suicide by unemployment. By maintaining high interest rates to crush the last remnants of inflation, the government and the bank risk destroying the very labour market that supports the tax base. So what's the Proponomics inflation verdict? Well, this November data shows that all goods inflation slowed to 2.1%, so essentially back to the target when it comes to goods.